There is a campaign running at the moment to inform people of the dangers of drug resistance. Taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk, shout the posters. GPS are familiar with the problem. Patients want medicine and don't like hearing that their flu is caused by a virus. Antibiotics, which treat bacterial infection, won't work. Misusing the pills nurtures vicious bugs that defy treatment when it is actually required. Seeing the slogan, I find it hard not to think that Brexit will one day be recorded as case of quack political medicine on an industrial scale. The obvious diagnosis of the referendum outcome was a majority desire to leave the EU, so the response necessarily begins with a commitment to do just that. The democratic treatment of an election cannot be to ignore the result. But there should also be investigation of underlying causes. And here Theresa May has strayed into gross malpractice. There is nothing about her Brexit method that begins to address the social divisions that were exposed by the referendum. She doles out only wishful thinking and platitudinous snake oil. The scale of the divisions is laid bare in yesterday's annual report by the government's Social Mobility Commission. It describes a nation where children's life chances shaped by the results they can expect at school and the wages they can expect to earn are sharply skewed by geography. The Commission's chair, Alan Milburn, notes that London and its economic satellites look like a distinct country. Remote rural and coastal areas fare worst. But there are also pockets of profound deprivation in affluent regions, in the Cotswolds and West Berkshire, for example. Growing wealth and growing poverty sit side by side in ways that not only feel uncomfortable, but are frankly unsustainable, Milburn writes. Those disparities have poisoned politics, casting Westminster as an inaccessible fortress of self-perpetuating privilege. How decisive that feeling was in propelling us out of the EU is disputed. The numbers can be crunched different ways. There were wealthy leavers in leafy London suburbs and chocolate box villages in the home counties. It is also hard to stomach Brexiteer claims to speak on behalf of the have-nots when their campaign was supported by tax-shy millionaires. Meanwhile, anti-establishment rhetoric in the mouths of Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg is, by any meaningful social metric, preposterous. Still, 60 of the 65 most disadvantaged areas identified by the Social Mobility Commission voted Leave. Labour MPs sitting in Brexit-backing constituencies have no doubt that the campaign channeled old frustrations, and that Euroscepticism was weaponized by perceptions of an elite class circling wagons around the status quo. When Remainers warned that leaving the EU would have drastic consequences, the response was, "Great, where do I sign?" A health warning about slower GDP growth elicited the response, "That's your GDP, not mine."